The Washington Commanders win at Dallas 23-19, clinch the 6th seed. We've got your instant reaction right here on Ref the District.
Yeah, it's Ref the District. Come on now and join us.
Let's go.
Welcome to Ref the District's instant reaction. I'm Nathan Perry, currently running solo. Trev might join us in a little bit. Of course, Stoner is out on a family trip, so he won't be back until next week's instant reaction. We're still waiting to see who Washington will play. Seattle and the Rams are playing right now. If Seattle wins, Washington will head down to Tampa. If the Rams win, we'll be headed over to the Rams. That's because Washington took care of business today in the closing seconds with a Terry McLaurin record-setting touchdown for the Washington franchise. Win 23-19 over the Commanders. Very interesting game. We're going to go through it all. Marcus Mariota, the star of today, 15 for 18, 161 yards, 2 touchdowns in the air, 1 on the ground, 5 carries for 56 yards. Jayden Daniels only playing a half. Terry McLaurin, 8 receptions off of 12 targets, 62 yards and a touchdown. Zach Ertz getting another touchdown for himself as well on 44 yards. This was a very interesting game. And it felt weird. And I told EP while we're watching this, it felt like a preseason game. Trev and I have talked a lot about through the season when we've done these instant reactions. Well, some of these games are just kind of like ho-hum boring. Like Washington's just kind of controlling the narrative as it went along. And this was one of those games where it also just felt that way, even though Washington was trailing throughout most of it. It seemed like they were just kind of sleepwalking through it. They didn't care. They were just trying to do certain things. Early on, it was feeding Terry McLaurin. You wanted to get him that record. Jayden Daniels only plays one half. Marcus Mariota comes in, and they just kind of go through the motions rather than what we were thinking was going to happen and running up the score. But I'll tell you what, a 23-19 victory is great. Ended up not mattering, by the way, because the Packers lost to the Bears, which meant Washington was going to get it, win or lose. But this is the first time in 33 years Washington would have had 12 wins. Of course, that last time they had that, they ended up in the Super Bowl. We'll talk more about playoffs on Wednesday. You can join us at 7:30 Eastern here on YouTube and Facebook for the playoffs. We appreciate everybody already joining us. A lot of conversation there. Doug, Teflon Don, Gus Bus, Trey in the house as well. Nathan hit there as well. JG, who is driving. Please be safe out there on the road there, JG. TJ, PCC, Gooseman, all here. We're going to go through all of this. The Washington Commanders were heavy favorites coming in here. Most of us expect this to be a blowout. They ended up not covering it. And you would have had all those stats, the Terry McLaurin touchdown and all of those kind of things they were looking for right at your fingertips, all that information through Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting source. You can head on over to Bet Online, use the code BELIEVE for a little welcome bonus, BLEAV. You can bet on NFL action, NHL action, NBA action that's happening, and not many people are watching our Wizards, even though they're starting to turn things around a little bit. But you can bet on all of that over at Bet Online. The game starts here. This game started with Washington punting the ball after 3 and out. In fact, they would punt most of their possessions in the first half. They had 4 punts, Tressway getting to work. It seemed like it forever ago that Washington was a team that just never punted. Remember those days right in the middle? It was just absolutely wonderful. Unfortunately, today there is a lot of Tressway action, but he proved to be quite the weapon himself in special teams outside of a miscue between Crowder and our guy Luke McCaffrey. It went just fine. Gooseman piling up injuries. I think that is one of those things that they were really worried about with this. That's why you saw Jayden Daniels only playing one half. And, you know, you did see a lot of the other starters going late into this game, but they wanted to be healthy going into the playoffs. It will be interesting how that all plays out. Dominic, appreciate you jumping in here. William bringing up one of the things that is probably on the negative side. I mentioned how Washington here is kind of sleepwalking through this game, treating it like a preseason. William pointing out, we got butchered by a mobile quarterback with no experience. Trey Lance started this game because I don't think Dallas had any intention of really wanting to win this game. They wanted to get tape for Trey Lance to see whether or not he is worth keeping. Cooper Rush and Trey Lance, both unrestricted free agents for Dallas. So they wanted to see what he could do. He did fine. Washington, I think, without any kind of serious tape, because the kid hasn't played in, I think it was like 2.5 years since his last start. Didn't really go all out to stop him. There was plenty of times though where he did have a lot of time back there. Of course, Dallas, even with their injury, still has a stud offensive line. It was interesting to watch him play, but like I said, I don't think the defense really cared. I don't really think the offense really cared. It's just a really weird game. Let's start kind of breaking things down. We talked about the first half here. Let's talk about the offense in its entirety. That first half, I think we didn't see the offense that we normally see with Washington. And it really felt like they were trying to make up for last week, where Terry McLaurin had a lot of missed opportunities and or just kind of got forgotten as the game went along. Now, you can always forgive that in a W, but if you don't get the win and you're not being targeted, you start to get a little antsy. Even a wonderful teammate like Terry McLaurin would start to get a little upset if they weren't seeing targets while the team was unable to put points up on the board. So it seems like this was a little makeup for him. Of course, the final touchdown. Congratulations, Terry McLaurin, the record-setting franchise 13th receiving touchdown in a season, able to get there in the closing seconds. So that was where that offense was in the first half, though, is they didn't seem to really want to get things going as much as they wanted to kind of feed the ball to the players that they wanted to kind of get some game action in. And it didn't work out. 4 punts, a field goal, and then the end of the half where you're kneeling. You go into the end of the half down 3 points. Dallas gets the ball. They just get another field goal. And then you finally see the offense start to open up. But that's with Marcus Mariota under center. But he had 8 plays, 70 yards, got a touchdown off of that one. He has another 8 plays, 70 yards, touchdown off of his second drive in the second half before having a 3-and-out punt. And thankfully, the defense showed up. 3 plays, 4 yards, punt for Dallas. And then it was the game-winning touchdown there at the end for Marcus Mariota. So he had 3 touchdowns and 4 drives to end the game and win this one for Washington. You still saw some of that feeding Terry McLaurin at the end, but you started to see little fun things. You saw De'Ami Brown throw what should have been a touchdown to OZ, but OZ continuing to disappoint me in ways that you shouldn't disappoint me. But that's what happened. Offense was a little ho-hum. I'm excited for what they can do in the playoffs, because you saw Cliff Kingsbury be so excited there at the end of the game, and you saw him go into this bag with that De'Ami throw and some of the other stuff. I'm going to be quite honest to everyone watching right now. I felt this game was in the bag for most of it, right up until 4th and 1 from the shotgun, game on the line. You don't even need a full yard. You need like half a yard. And they go to shotgun, and I was like, this is bad. This is so bad. And then Marcus Mariota running it up for 33 yards, setting Washington into a good position to end up winning the game. So P&W Trout Slayer here. Man, I was bothered by this game. This game did not go P&W. This game did not go how I thought Washington was going to handle this game. But similar to like the second Giants game and even the Saints game, I never really thought the game was going to be a loss. It just kind of felt like Washington was just kind of going about the motions in a way a really good team would do to a really bad team. And they're just like, we're going to win. Let's just kind of go through this. I don't like that. I don't like that as an identity. I don't like that as a thing in the future. Maybe that's because here in Washington, we've had issues of playing down to our competition for 30 years. We've had problems with that. And so I don't want to continue this. And I'd much rather do what we did to Tennessee or Arizona and just put it out of reach. The the Cleveland game as another one there. So let me get to some of these comments here. We'll move to the defense because Doug has taken us there. The pass interference call was played perfectly. Of course, this is with Benjamin St. Juste. Turned his head and everything. Defense, again, has issues stopping the run. And then when you're talking about the defense on the passing side of things, I don't like Davis, and I don't feel comfortable with Benjamin St. Juste out there. The 2 penalties on him, I don't think were strong penalties. But when you have a reputation of being handsy, when you have a reputation of getting those penalties, it feels like that's something that the refs are looking at and are going to be more likely to call on you than if you didn't have that reputation. So that one, as Doug mentioned, in the end zone, I don't understand how he could have played that better. He did what we've asked him to do. Turn your head around. And he turned his head around. He wasn't grabbing jersey, or at least not any more than the wide receiver was. And he still gets called. So that one I could absolutely get there. PCC saying the first penalty was the right call. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would have to rewatch it. I think I agree with somebody who was up there before who was talking about how that it might have been a penalty, but it wasn't that penalty that they called. So that was, that's what it was. The defense, though, did hold Trey Lance to 244 yards passing, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Only got to him twice, though, for 16 yards. Shout out to my man, Jonathan Allen. Ricky Dow had 72 yards on 22 carries in a touchdown. And Tolbert almost 100 yards, 98 yards receiving today, kind of one of the big ones. They had some breakdowns in pass defense that I didn't like seeing. But again, they kind of just were out there with vanilla. They weren't trying to go really too hard. There's a couple times where it was what it was. On the special teams, Dominic Crowder still scares me on punt return. I think that he's a good punt returner, but he has made some kind of bonehead mistakes. We had OZ out there at the beginning of the season, and we saw that wasn't necessarily the strongest thing. Gus here saying the muff wasn't Crowder's fault, as Luke McCaffrey was pushed into him. And Luis saying Crowder fumble was on Luke, agreeing with them. Let me know where you think the call should be as far as that. Who deserves it? Even the broadcast had said Luke McCaffrey was the guy responsible, and he needed to know that. Here's my take on it. I feel like Crowder calls for fair catch, and Luke McCaffrey trying to take care of the gunner out there. There was another player, I can't remember who else was out there, who did narrowly avoid. It might have been Davis, Crowder, but there was way too many bodies out there. So Crowder needs to do a better job getting himself in position to, it looked like he was trying to catch a penalty off of that, less so than he was trying to actually get the fair catch. So he needs to get in position, but Luke needs to be aware of where he's at. We're going to pin this one on Luke for this, but I really feel like Crowder needs to do a better job of making sure that he's clearing the way if things are too crazy. Like that punt, if you can't cleanly field it, you need to make sure your teammates know, get the heck out of Dodge, so that way that ball can bounce and no one's going to touch it. It is unfortunate that the special teams continues to be lackluster against Dallas. I wish that it weren't the case, but good news is we don't have to play Dallas this rest of them because they are going home. They are going fishing, and they were doing that because Washington won all the way back before their Bucks game. Now Washington looking to see if they'll be playing the Bucks this weekend. We appreciate everybody jumping in. Make sure if you are now just jumping in, you hit that like button, you subscribe to the channel here on YouTube, and you share this so other people can join the conversation. Doug saying, still think the Cowboy player made contact even after Luke collided. I will say it looked more like Luke got pushed into Crowder, but you gotta have a good spot for that one. You got to know where you're at here. And Luis pointing out that if you get pushed into the catcher, you that's completely legal. You're absolutely right, Luis. So this was a game Washington wanted to or needed to win, but it seemed like a game that they were okay if they didn't win. And their rushing attack, 18 rushes today. And this is kind of where I feel like this is why they weren't trying their hardest. Their leading rusher was Marcus Mariota, not just in yardage, where he had a 33-yard run there to boost that stat, but he also tied for the number of carries. Brian Robinson, 5 carries, 10 yards today. Austin Eckler, 3 for 12, and Jayden Daniels, 4 for 27. It was interesting that they chose not to try to run the ball today. And I think that's because you're going to see a little bit more of the rushing attack in some more exotic type rushing attacks here in the playoffs. So again, it felt like they treated this game more like it was a preseason game, not wanting to put too much more tape on it and let their players rest. Ted here, $5 super chat. We appreciate you, Ted. Like I said multiple times in the chat, we are a 10 to 12 win team. You called it, Ted. I look forward to seeing Tampa in the playoffs. Of course, Tampa is the odds-on favorite. Right now, of course, people are eyeing that Seattle game. Seattle in the first, up 7-3 as we record this live. We appreciate Ted here with that $5 super chat. It is a good question, and maybe we'll try to get this in here as well. Let me know who you want to see in the playoffs. And Gus Bus, I'm with you on this one. Gus Bus saying, C-Rod, how many carries did he get? He got 0. And why is that? Maybe, Gus, I'm telling you, maybe they're trying to save something for the playoffs. I think that's that's the only thing I can explain when you talk about having 18 rushes today, and 9 of those came from your quarterbacks, and some of those were scrambles, not designed runs either. Let's move specifically on to Jayden Daniels. How did you feel about Jayden Daniels' play? Because it did seem like he was not really in the groove today in the way that we've seen. And I'm also starting to get a little concerned with his taking sacks here. Today, he did get sacked 4 times for 18 yards. And I'm going to talk specifically about one here in the moment as we talk to Al Catone. I want Philly again. Well, that's not going to happen. Philly's the 2 seed. Washington's the 6 seed. The only way we would see them is, let's see. So Philadelphia to get to the second round would beat Green Bay. Washington gets the second round beating the Bucks or the Rams, which would make us the team who has to play the 1 seed. Of course, that will be determined tonight, Minnesota or Detroit, which means the only way Washington can see Philadelphia for a 3rd time this season is in the NFC conference game. I say bring it on, except for I want Philly to lose that first round. So, but Alcatone, I appreciate you chatting here, and I agree. If we got the 7th seed and had to face Philly, I liked our chances there. We'll see how it goes. But Brian T. Beal, no better way to finish the year. 12-5 with Terry getting the game winner. Absolutely. That was one heck of a catch, and something that I feel kind of exonerated Terry McLaurin was the fact that a lot of the misses he had, and I think the broadcast had talked about this, he had 2 catches on 11 targets at one point over the last 2 games. And a lot of those catches or a lot of those misses were ones that were just outside his reach or were ones that hit his hands. And that is one of those things that I hear a lot of fans talk about Terry McLaurin a lot, is he's a body catcher. He's not a hands catcher. And so it was good to see him high point a ball, come down with it, and not have to, catch it with his body as we're used to seeing, because there were some of those misses that definitely did not look very good here. Let's, again, go back to Jayden Daniels and his play here. One of the things that really bothers me, and we've talked about this here on Ref the District before, is Jayden Daniels' reluctance to throw away the ball. He took a sack today where he had bounced the outside, avoided the pressure, and he gets to the sideline, and instead of making the smart play, in my opinion, of just tossing the ball up and out of bounds past the line of scrimmage, he instead steps out of bounds and ends up taking a loss. You gotta start changing that mentality. I get wanting to play the play to its finish, but sometimes you just got to throw the ball away. Losing that yardage is not smart, and he can't continue to do that. John Gillard here. I'm glad we don't have to play Philly in the first round. John, I would have taken him, but it's okay. If we end up facing him again, we got a good chance there. John, I appreciate you jumping in over there on Facebook. Make sure you hit that like for the video and make sure you're sharing this so that other people can join in as here. Going back with John here. So we talked about Jayden Daniels. My one concern is the sacks that he's been taking over these last couple of games where he seems to be pushing and he seems to try to extend the play much longer than it should, not throwing the ball away when he needs to just understand the play is dead and throw it away. John here saying, though, Marcus played great in relief. That is something that I think is fantastic, is to have something like that. In fact, Gus coming in here and probably trying to stir the pot a little bit. I know this is Jayden's team and he's willed us to the playoffs. But if Jayden struggles in the playoffs, does Quinn ever move to Mariota? That's coming from Gus. So if you have any, disdain for this type of question, you can make sure you hit up Gus with that. But be kind, because I think it's actually a fair question. I don't think it is going to happen, though. This is Jayden's team, and they're going to ride or die with him. And they've seen him come back from double digits. In fact, Washington had 2 double-digit comebacks back-to-back weeks just recently. And that's off the back of Jayden Daniels. This team believes in him. This team talks about how with 5, they're alive, and they're never out of it as long as Jayden Daniels playing. So the only way Dan Quinn moves to Mariota is if there's an injury issue with Jayden Daniels. There's no way he could throw 3 touchdowns, and I do not see moving over to, not 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and I don't see him moving away from Jayden Daniels. They're going to let him play out of it. This is a game where you see, or this is a season rather, where you need Jayden Daniels to play, get that experience, work through it. It's not, and Gus here, it's not all about Jayden. It's going to be about winning, but it's going to be a situation where, do you really think moving to Marcus Mariota is going to be for the betterment of the team and trying to win it? No, you're going to work with Jayden Daniels. So unless there's an injury concern, there's no way I see Jayden Daniels coming out in here. But yeah, Marcus Mariota today would have been, has been fantastic this year. We've seen him in relief against Carolina, now against Dallas. He's got 2 wins in relief, and that is a great thing to have. And Marcus Mariota again against Philadelphia, or no, Atlanta. So it was last week, coming in and telling Jayden Daniels, and get up, get your breath, win this with your God-given talent, has been fantastic here. Luis chiming in. DQ may have thought the same, Nathan. JD5 trying to do too much, taking him out of the game served to cool him off and resting him at the same time. Yeah, I think they just, again, it felt like a preseason game. It just felt like a preseason game where it was, hey, let's play our starters for a half, or let's play, our guys for a half, get them some rest. There was the thigh that was getting looked at for Jayden Daniels. I don't think it's going to be that big of a concern, but when I was on District Divided, this came up. Jayden Daniels might be a player that you have to protect from himself. Let me know what you think about that. Do you think Jayden Daniels is a player that the coaching staff is going to have to step in and take care of? Let me know what you think about that one, because it seems like he is going to play, even if it's not the smartest decision. And the team so far up to this point, you can look at the rib injury outside of the Carolina game where they're like, no, we're going to have you sit. Jayden Daniels has come back in. He played through that injury until he started feeling better. And you can tell when that happened, when he started kind of opening things up. And now it seems like this could be a player that we have who needs to be protected from himself. We'll see how people feel about that one. JG must be hitting a stop sign here because he's on the road. But he says, I got to tell you, on the final drive of the game with the game on the line, Marcus is not the QB I want to see. JG, that might be true. And there was a couple drives Marcus Mariota frustrated me with some of those sacks that he took, but he won a game today on that final drive. I would prefer Jayden Daniels, but Marcus Mariota getting it done today to Terry McLaurin there at the end, 6 seconds on the clock, and being able to put just 2 seconds there at the end of the game for the kickoff, which again, they ran that one out. They didn't look like they were Cowboys didn't look like they were trying to win that game at all. This was a game I think Washington also stole. They were behind in the total yards. They had one less drive. They lost the time of possession, 37 minutes to 22 minutes, really close to 23 minutes there is how that one broke down. It was 22:57. That's a huge discrepancy. You took 6 sacks on the day. Those Marcus Mariota ones were huge sacks too. I told you Jayden Daniels took 4 for 18. Marcus Mariota took half the sacks, but had more yards off of his, 25 yards. And those sacks against Marcus Mariota seem like enders, right? Drive enders. The ones against Jayden Daniels, not so much. Washington, 12 wins for the first time in 33 years. We should be feeling all sorts of good. And it is going to be good going into the playoffs here. Washington waiting to see who they're going to play. Seattle currently up on top, 7-3 over the Rams, which means Washington would head down to Tampa Bay. Let's keep out, as Ricardo's saying here, why all these negative thoughts and assumptions? Please, let's celebrate the victory. These hypotheticals are ridiculous. Ricardo, I hear you loud and clear. That's why we're going to talk about some more of the positives. How about our kicking situation? Didn't look absolutely awful. Zane Gonzalez hitting his 1 field goal from 47 yards, 2 extra points, doing his job. Tressway hitting 3 punts within the 20. Not some great returns today, which was only 1 return for 2 yards today. That's what you want to see from your special teams. You need them to be on point. So good job there. Of course, Jamison Crowder fumbling that one, possibly to Luke McCaffrey, if depending on where you want to put the blame there. And the defense did just enough to win, and the offense doing just enough to win as well. It's a W. It's a burgundy gold W. I'm in the onesie. Good things coming here as we did go here. Angela asking, did Tressway make the Pro Bowl? Did not as a starter. I think he is one of our alternates that we have, but I can't remember off the top of my head if he's a second or third alternate. Only starters we have going in there are Terry McLaurin, caught his 13th record-setting touchdown today, and in the closing seconds of this game to win it for the Washington Commanders, and Jayden Daniels for the quarterback position. So, yeah, Jonathan Allen coming in and having a sack. Liked to see that getting to work here. It was where we were at, 12-5. Happy times, Ricardo. Perfect. Where were you the last time Washington had 12 wins? That was 1991. Let me know that as well. Where were you? Matt showing in the chat here. Hell yeah. We beat Dallas. First time going 12 wins, splitting it 4-2 in the division, sweeping Dallas and splitting both Philadelphia and the Cowboys. That is something to be proud of. That is something to be, thinking strongly of, because these are the games you're going to see year in and year out. If you can consistently go 4-2 in the division, you can consistently have a winning record. That's half the wins you need right there when you go 4-2 in there. Luis here chatting in again. Eckler played really well. That's nice to have going into the playoffs. It was good to see him in. I said that he wasn't going to play. I did not think Austin Eckler was going to play. So to see him in and see him run and look healthy while running was nice. Now, he had 3 carries for 12 yards, so it's not like he had a lot there, but he did have 2 catches for 10 yards. Longest one was 14 yards. He was moving well, and that is what you want to see. And again, it felt like a preseason game. They're like, we're going to give him just enough touches to kind of get him warmed up. I'm interested in seeing some of the snap counts. Once those come out, I would love to look at that there. Matt was a sophomore in high school. Scooby was in high school. TJ, 91, I was 5. I was right there with you. I was 6 years old in 91. Actually, March birthday, so Well, the 91-92 season is what this was, because we would have won. So I would have been 6 years old back the last time they got to 12 wins. And it's good. And Washington doing this with some quality victories here. Now we'll see if they can not be fourth quarter victories going into the playoffs, but it feels good to finally get double-digit wins, have a team we can be proud of, and do some fancy things here. There's a couple bookmarks I did. Ken Johansson of Hogs Haven. 7 teams won 12 or more games this season. Washington is one of them. One of 7 teams to win 12 games this season. Fantastic. Washington is one of those. And Ken also pointing out 5 teams have closed out the regular season with 5 or more straight wins. Washington is one of them. Washington going into the playoffs with 5 straight wins is fantastic. Yeah, Gus Bus, I have Snyder induced early gray hairs. Yeah, I got a lot of gray for a guy who's not 40 yet. That might be some of the military experience as well. Yeah, I think everyone's starting to get surprised that I'm in my 30s. I'm a little upset that some people might think that I was a little bit older. Armand was 8 in 91. Doug, college 4th year. I hope that's the senior year. Graduated there, Doug. But yeah, I am in 39. And yeah, so all this gray. EP won't let me dye it. She says she likes the salt and pepper look, and she also likes the victory. She was over there watching the game with me, questioning some of the decisions. I mentioned earlier the 4th and 1 shotgun. I was screaming at the TV, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And then Marcus Merida runs for 3 yards, and she had to explain to all the children just how much that I love football. We got a full house here now. And so that is where we're at. 12 wins going into the playoffs. It was a question. Oh, man, I missed who had asked it. Let's see if I can find it. TJ was the one who asked it. Washington going to the playoffs as the 6th seed. Right now, they're going to play either the Bucks or the Rams. The question from TJ, who would you rather play? The Bucks or the Rams? Now that Washington's guaranteed in this game is over. Terry McLaurin scoring in the final 6 seconds of the game to put Washington on top in the 23-19 for this win. Who would you rather play is now the question as we wait for the finish of the Seattle and LA game. Let's hear who you would rather see. Me personally, revenge against the Bucks would be nice. That would be something I think that Jayden Daniels kind of learning from that first game would be something interesting. Here's the thing with the Bucks. Even though they just scraped by a win against the Saints, you don't forget Washington scraped by a win against those same Saints as well. They have Bucky Irving, who can absolutely run the ball, and they have been a strong offense. Baker Mayfield has been dealing, and he's got moxie. You guys might have been a part of that Taylor Heineke hive. Well, Baker Mayfield's got even more moxie than Heineke. So that is a scary matchup to me. And while I think Washington can win against either of these teams, the Bucks are the ones that I think would give me a little bit more fits as far as wanting that. Now, here's the thing. On the flip side of the coin, you got the Rams, who might not be great offensively right now, but they got Sean McVay, and they've got a guy back there called Matthew Stafford, who's got experience. They've got 2 wide receivers. Do you really want to see Benjamin St-Juste or Michael Davis lined up? If Lattimore can't go, do you really want Cooper Kupp and Nakua to be running wild across the middle of the field, being chased by some of the cornerbacks we have? It really, both of those matchups worry me, but I think Rams have less of a rushing tack. And if Washington can get the Rams into a situation where they have to pass, all it takes is one off throw, right, to see this game kind of go into there. So it is where I would go with this one. But let's see where people want to go with this one here. Uptown Dre saying revenge tour continues. Let's go to the Bucks. Gus Bus. I think the matchup is better against the Rams. TJ with the Rams. Doug with the Rams. PCC. I see us and the Broncos the same way going to the playoffs. I would not be surprised if either lost or won round one or win the conference. Dead serious too. Washington can absolutely go on a run. Angela, I'm torn because I grew up in Tampa. I plead the fifth. Come on, Angela, you got to pick. You can't sit on the fence for this one. Armand, Rams. Baker can run. We struggle with running QBs. We'll get pressured on Stafford. That is very key. Stafford has had a couple injuries. He is later in his career. He's not nearly as mobile. Baker Mayfield could potentially gash us. We saw that against Trey Lance today, where that is something that could potentially be a problem. Like I said, Baker Mayfield got moxie, has loved dealing it. Mike Evans is a solid wide receiver. He did get his 11th season in a row with 1,000 yards. Congratulations to him. And the Bucs making the playoffs there with their victory today. It's the Bucs, though, with the rushing attack with Baker Mayfield. He might give you a turnover or two, but he's also going to do enough to win the game. I'm going to go with the Rams here. Gus, who's more scary for a run D? Bucky Irving or Kyrie Williams? Bucky Irving is more scary. Dominic, Rams on the fast track could be dangerous. You'd never count out Stafford or Sean McVay. That's the thing. That's the reason why it's a scary matchup either way. But Washington could absolutely do it. PCC, I'd rather play the Rams and mobile QB and hoping Lattimore can lock down Puka. If Lattimore comes back, I feel a lot better about either of those matchups. Uptown Dre, Cup, Puka, and K. Williams. Bucks, baby girl. That's where Uptown Dre wants to go. Nathan, isn't it nice to have Victory Mondays? It is fantastic. Wearing the onesie. The kids are going to have a fun time with me when I get back into the house, as I'm going to rock the onesie for the rest of the night. Dolores, hello, Ref the District crew. Let it be known, Marcus Mariota won this game today. It's called Skills. Go Marcus Mariota and Commanders all the way. Thanks, Dolores, for chatting in here with us here. It's fantastic. Matt with a 1999 super chat. We appreciate you, Matt, as always. It is fantastic to see everybody in here. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and share. Let's get to our favorite part of this section here, our instant reactions as we do after the games. Let's talk about our no-goes and go-goes. Getting back into the game here, let's hear from you. Who is your no-go? We always start with a negative. We want to end on the positive. Who is your no-go for this game? In my opinion, there's a couple here. You can go with Luke McCaffrey for knocking Crowder and getting the fumble. You can go with OZ for dropping De'Ami Brown's pass. You can go with Jayden Daniels for not having a strong first half before seeing time on the bench. You can go Benjamin St-Juste for once again getting his number called twice with the penalties there. How about Mike Sanistro? He was trailing a few times, but he had 3 pass defense. Jeremy Chin did good today, so he's not going to be on there. Who is your no-go? Let's see here. No-go for TJ is OZ. JG with OZ. Nick Allegretti from Drew. He did catch a couple penalties, a holding call. Yeah, it's the offensive line I'm a little concerned about, Drew. I'm not feeling great about the offensive line. If I were Adam Peters, I would be looking to shore up this offensive line in the offseason. Luis, no-go is Benjamin St-Juste. Gus, C-Rod, less run offense. It is absolutely insane to me. There's got to be something we don't know, Gus, as why Chris Rodriguez is not seeing any snaps. Like, this was the game to play Chris Rodriguez. If you didn't want to show them and didn't want to hurt Brian Robinson or, just give Austin Eckler a handful of touches, why not run Chris Rodriguez? Washington was never truly down in this game. You're talking about a game where Washington, going into the fourth quarter, it was a 10-9 game going into the fourth quarter. That's why are you not running the ball more? Why was that not a thing? It's the only thing I can think of is similar to Terry McLaurin not seeing preseason games his rookie year was because they had something in the tank. They knew what they had is the only thing I can have. Not that Chris Rodriguez is going to do the Terry McLaurin thing. Let me clarify that here. But this was a preseason game for Washington. They were just going the easy route here. That's the only reason why I can think that you wouldn't do it. Armand, appreciate you with the like and subscribe here. No go. The run game, run defense, not good on other sides. We've heard a lot when you get to the playoffs. You've got to run the ball and stop the run. Can Washington do that? Benjamin St. Juice is PNW's no-go. OZ is Ricardo's. I gave OZ my no-go last week, so I'm not going to be too hard on him today. Noah Igbenogany is Uptown Dre's. He was bad. He was chasing a lot. And Bosky with the defensive line as a no-go. I'm going to go with that as well. I think the defensive line, actually, perfect. You know who it is? It's Deron Payne. There is a play out there. It was a Ferguson catches it. Deron Payne pushes it. And then Chen, who did the cleanup job there, and Luvu weirdly trying to jump in on that one, nearly injuring himself. So Deron Payne specifically is going to be my no-go. That was the negative side. Washington won this game. Let's keep it positive here. Who was your go-go? And remember, we have our don't sleep player of the game coming afterwards, so you don't want to run that. I do apologize if I'm going in and out here. We do have wintry storms where I'm at, so there might be some touchiness here. TJ is going to go with a go for Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin, 8 catches, leading wide receiver today for Washington, 62 yards and the touchdown. That was his record-setting touchdown, so that's a perfect example of somebody who could be your go. P&W going Mariota. Jonathan Allen is Drew's go. He did get on the board. He got a sack. Let's see what other stats Jonathan Allen kind of got there. He had 3 total tackles. 2 of those were solo. 1 of the sacks and a tackle for a loss, and the QB hit there, tacked in there as well. Mariota is a go. Zach Ertz a go for the 3rd straight game, says Luis. Zach Ertz did have a good game. 5 catches on 5 targets, 100% catch rate. 44 yards and a touchdown. Quality catch there, too. It is so good to have a tight end of Zach Ertz caliber. I like that go, but my go is going to be to Terry McLaurin catching his record-setting, franchise-setting touchdown with 13 and a personal best for him. This is not a player who is really known for catching touchdowns. Touchdowns are really wishy-washy, especially when you come for a wide receiver aspect. It's not as consistent as some of the other positions. So kudos to Terry McLaurin with a career year and having 13 touchdowns. He's going to be my go, which takes us to our Don't Sleep player of the game. You can head on over to don'tsleepenergy.com and support a local DMV company. Get your energy needs all straight from them. They are fantastic people. You can get your original sugar-free, your energy shots, or just some of their fantastic gear over at don'tsleepenergy.com. Let them know we sent you by using the code DISTRICT. That's DISTRICT over at Don't Sleep Energy. They make you great. Who is your Don't Sleep player of the game? And TJ hitting it. If I pick Terry McLaurin as my go, my Don't Sleep player of the game has to be Marcus Mariota. I'm with you on that as well. Marcus Mariota coming in relief of Jayden Daniels in the second half, leading to touchdown after touchdown, carrying the ball 5 yards for 56 yards, including that 33-yard run. Kudos to him. Kudos to Cliff Kingsbury. I doubted it. I really am telling you, when they lined up in shotgun, Roger would have been my best friend because I was screaming at the TV, why aren't you doing just a power run? And there goes Marcus Mariota into the green grass, getting a first down and then some. We really love to see that here in the Perry household. So Marcus Mariota getting the TD on the ground and the game-winning one to Terry McLaurin as well. It's going to be my player of the game. We do appreciate everybody joining tonight. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Share it with your friends, and make sure you join us on Wednesdays as we stream live every Wednesday night, 7:30 Eastern here on YouTube and Facebook. Of course, you can catch us on your favorite audio platform as well. Just make sure you leave us a rating and review so somebody so you can join other people as well. Doug having a question here before we leave. Here, Doug asking, how do penalties enforce on kickoff work? If Washington scored a TD after theirs, where would they put the ball? So if they scored a TD after their after the kickoff. So this one had a really weird situation, Doug. I know this game because Washington was penalized after a Dallas touchdown. Then Dallas kicks the ball out of bounds, and it was kind of an odd thing there. So that's something I think we would have to really look at. Dominic, by the way, player of the game, Wagner, defensive audibles in the red zone were outstanding. Wagner, I love when he turns back the clock. He's done it a couple times, and I really love when you see him go up to the line, realize what the play call is, give it to the defense, and the defense makes the stop. Fantastic. He's done that several times there. But Doug, that's one of the things we'll have to look and maybe talk about on Wednesday. Of course, we'll give a shout out here to Angela again. Thanks for bringing us together this season to cheer and commiserate about our team. Not a lot of commiserating, only 5 losses on the season. Onward to the playoffs. We appreciate the $5 super chat, Angela, and always being a fan. I'm Nathan Perry here on Ref the District. Make sure you join us on Wednesday night. And until next time, hail to the Commanders. Be a fan.